And switching gears here, as promised, we are bringing you live to the White House lawn this morning. News Center 1 today's Anya Mueller is standing by with the story of one local World War II veteran. Anya, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Jessica. And check it out, live from the White House this morning right here in Washington, D.C. It's a little bit nicer. The sun is out, so that's always a nice little treat for us. Yes, but the other day I get to do a little bit of sightseeing here in D.C., and I did visit the World War II Memorial, and I was lucky enough to catch up with one local veteran, 91 years old, Gordon Lease. He does live in Rapid City. Here's a little bit of his story.
Gordon Lease was a high school senior in California in 1941 when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. The next day, Gordon and his friend enlisted in the Coast Guard. And that's where his service time to his country begins, and as he puts it, his adventures.
In July of '43, we went overseas to Oran, Algeria, and from there we went to Sicily and Italy, Anzio, Italy, and then eventually to Normandy, France, making invasions and taking wounded and prisoners out and putting armor on the shore. It was an adventurous life, but at that time I thought I might see 25, but I'd never make it to age 30.
At 90 years old, Gordon recalls many memories from the war like they were yesterday.
You're trained to accept the bad stuff with the good stuff. It isn't all dress uniforms and everybody's clean and you're well fed and strong and standing at attention. And war is not like that. War is a dirty business. It's chilling. You have to do things that you wouldn't normally do. You've taken an oath to defend your country and your shipmates, and so you do it. It leaves scars, but you can overcome that. I would do it again if I had to.
Gordon says he is one of the last remaining men alive from his assigned ship and stays in touch with the other two men. And if you ask, he knows the exact amount of time he proudly served his country.
3 years, 5 months, 26 days, 10 hours, and 15 minutes of total service.
Since his time out of the service, he has taken trips to Washington to visit the memorials, but recalls one time while serving, he took a visit to Washington and how many things were different back then.
Well, in 1943, I was on Liberty. Our ship was in Chesapeake Bay, which is close to Washington. So I decided to go to Washington, D.C., and I've got a photograph of me on the Lincoln Memorial steps, and the Jefferson Memorial was, the building was completed, but Jefferson's statue wasn't inside. The week that I was there, the Pentagon building had been finished and the armed forces were starting to move into the Pentagon. It was a busy time. I remember the White House that all there was one half-track with 3 fellas sitting in it to guard the White House. I went everywhere in Washington, D.C. that I wanted to go, and nobody ever asked for identification or stopped me. A lot different today.
Gordon was recently awarded the French Foreign Legion Medal of Honor by the President of France in 2013. He is now a knight.
And it was very interesting to hear Gordon's stories about the White House, in fact, and of course a lot more security and regulations nowadays. But in a little bit, I'll be talking more with Gordon and what life lessons he took away from his time serving our country. That story and much more coming up live from Washington, D.C. We'll be right back.